In this video, we're gonna discuss a very strange but very helpful idea for chronic back pain. Before we get started, if you've struggled with chronic back pain for more than a few months and nothing is helping you finally resolve the back pain, subscribe to this channel because you are gonna learn a lot of new mechanisms and techniques that you probably won't see anywhere else. The idea that we're going to explore today can be called productive distraction. Chronic back pain is often described as psychosomatic. What this means is that it has two components, both a physical one, the back pain, the muscles, the vertebrae, the discs, all of those stuff, but also it has a psychological and an emotional component. There's usually a mind-body connection here. That's why a lot of people pursue a purely physical path. They're working all of the exercises, the rehab, and they see no benefits even after months or even years sometimes of just trying to solve this part of the problem. They're ignoring completely the mental and the emotional part of the problem. And this was a trap that I myself fell into. For the longest time, actually for 10 years to be specific, I was struggling with chronic back pain primarily because I ignored completely the mind and the mental and emotional component. I was only trying to address the physical, as chances are you're also trying to do as well. And all of the doctors, all of the experts, the physiotherapists, pretty much everyone is gonna recommend that you only pursue a purely physical solution to this problem. But what finally unlocked things for me was first realizing and then accepting and then working on this other area of the problem, which is the mental and emotional components. And working these areas requires completely different tools. Now, of course, addressing the physical component of the problem is important. You should definitely continue with the exercises, strengthening your body. All of that is great, and we talk about that in other videos as well. But chances are you'll probably discover that the problem doesn't completely go away unless you address this other part of it. And for that, there's different tools. Besides becoming aware of this part of the problem, I usually like to work with the journaling, resolution methods, releases, letting go, all of those things. But this can take varying degrees of time for different people. For some people, just the mere realization that there is something more than the physical problem here is completely enough to forever release their back pain, and they're really not going to struggle with this anymore. Once they kind of have this mindset shift that there is something a bit more to this other than like a physical injury. But other people, and this usually goes for the more maybe critically minded, like rational, logical people, they're kind of gonna struggle accepting this mind-body idea, and that something like let's say like a problem from your past, maybe something that kind of bothers you, maybe some people call this trauma, and that's maybe like in a lot of instances that may actually be a correct phrase. In these instances, like for these people that usually are more on the logical side, they may need a little bit more time struggling and dealing with this issue. And during all of that time, their back is gonna hurt. And this is where productive distraction comes into play. Essentially, it's a really simple idea. You just want to give your mind something to think about, something to kind of chew on. If you have your mind and your thoughts preoccupying about something else, you're probably going to discover that you no longer think about your back pain, which is usually going to mean that your back is not even going to hurt, maybe for the rest of the day sometimes, maybe even for a few days in a row. Now, there is a problem here. If you actively try to stop thinking about something, chances are you're going to think about it more. You're probably familiar with this sort of like a self-help cliche, but if someone tells you don't think about the pink elephant, you're probably going to think of the pink elephant. Like it's going to be the first thing you think about. And the same goes for back pain. If someone instructs you stop thinking about your back pain, chances are you're going to think about it. And maybe you're even going to think about it more, and you're going to make things worse. The only way to solve this problem is to actually think about something else. That's exactly what productive distraction is. You're simply distracting your mind, hopefully with an activity or with thought patterns that are actually productive. And this can be work, and that's a great way to actually achieve productive distraction. If you like your work, if you enjoy it, you're gonna find that once you kind of get into this like whole flow and you kind of forget about everything else, your back is not gonna hurt anymore. And this can even apply if your work includes sitting. As I discussed in one previous video, sitting is definitely not good for back pain, but it's also not the end of the world if you kind of learn how to sit properly and how to engage with the whole activity. And other mostly mental activities are also great. Reading, consuming content, playing like any intellectual games maybe, or whatever it is that puts you into like a flow state is good. But even better than that is flow activities that actually require your body to be involved. And this can be literally anything. This can be walking, working out. This can even be like a more fun activity, maybe socializing, having sex, singing, dancing is also great. Anything that kind of requires you to use your body and pretty much like only focus on the activity that you're performing with your body and forget about everything else. This is the best activity that's gonna help you achieve productive distraction and help you forget about the pain while you're healing. That's like the critical part here. If you do something like, let's just say, dancing, I think it's a really good activity for productive distraction. I'm a horrible dancer, for example, but sometimes when I'm like home alone, I kind of do it, and I always notice that it makes me completely forget about my back pain as long as I kind of get into this flow and stop thinking about it, just doing the activity. This is the core of productive distraction. I guess some people call this like flow activities. Anything that kind of puts you into this nice flow where you're using your body, your mind is not really that much engaged in thought, and your back can actually heal. You're completely handling the mental and emotional part, and that kind of makes it easy even for the physical part to kind of heal better. So this is just a brief introduction to this idea of productive distraction. I actually talk a lot about this in my other videos. I'm sure the next one that's going to appear above me is going to be relevant. Go check it out. I will see you there. And until next time, be brave.